your talent pool. Your talent pool is not your city anymore. It's not your county. Your talent pool is the world theoretically. If you want to restrict it to make managing that whole process legalities easier, your world could be the USA. And the USA is a huge place with a lot of talent. And we've got these tools available to us now, these AI sourcing tools, which QJumpers is just launching one very, very shortly, actually, a new one. And we've got these tools to have a massive talent pool and make use of people from working from home and employ people that we couldn't employ before.
Okay, so talent pool, definitely it's something to observe. And in your perspective, Amit, what do you think that it's something that we should put attention in terms of sourcing, as Simon said, differently with new approach? What else can we do?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things, as Simon said, right, like we're really thinking, the organizations have really thought of starting to think about the value proposition, right? Like the value proposition might have been different for candidates before the pandemic, and now it's totally different, right? Now you have a hybrid workforce, maybe a remote workforce, and so the value prop really changes from that perspective as it relates to attracting, sourcing, as well as selection, right? And so from my perspective, it's really about taking a step back and saying, okay, what is, how do we brand ourselves as a company before? Is that still valid? It may still be valid. That messaging might still resonate with the candidate base out there. Or, hey, we need to kind of rethink how we go about and attract the talent, right? With the tools, like Simon indicated, with AI, the opportunity that we saw was really around how jobs are getting redefined, right? And really, as you're thinking about the future of work and accelerating the future of work, we noticed that job descriptions are the way your grandfather used to read them, right?
Are they boring?
Right, right. And so we saw an opportunity to really get at the simplification of that, to start to actually attract bigger talent pools. To Simon's point, right? It's a little bit of a different approach that we're taking from a business standpoint, which is really boil down your job to probably 3 to 6 key skills, right? That are no longer, you no longer have the nice to haves in the job description that frankly leaves out a lot of talent pools, right? So that problem of what is the key requirement of the job is a huge opportunity for us to, as companies are now starting to rethink the actual work that's being done, right?
Excellent. So we will come back to that point. And you mentioned something important in regards to the screening. So Bikram, what are your thoughts about the screening differently and how Docknall is helping with these virtual interviewing tools? How can you tell us?
Sure. So I think the one thing that actually I learned and my experiences, before pandemic, nobody has ever thought, but like all these big corporation, like, the big enterprise client, they want to let everyone work from home. And the best part is they're still surviving. They're still making money. They're still making profits. So what does that depict? That depicts, the organization need a people who have a skill set, right? Organization doesn't need like a traditional way, like, hey, 5 years of experience, 7 years of experience. Is there any guarantee that 7 years of experience guy will deliver the deliverable? Maybe, or maybe not, right? Then that's mean that we gotta need to change our method of screening, right? We gotta need to run for the skill set. We should not run for like how many years the rational number actually the person has put on the resume, because the resume could be deceiving too. If somebody could say like I have a decade year of experience, but he couldn't write a single line of the Java code, then obviously, the organization doesn't need him or her, right? So that's the reason I think that the change that I say before pre-COVID, when actually we used to go for like organization and everybody was saying that, oh, who's going to do it? Candidate is not going to do it. Well, first of all, you are not sitting on the candidate seat, right? Candidate needs a job. If candidate needs a job, he will do it. And also if the candidate has a skill set, he will definitely do it. And now we have see the change. This whole COVID thing or whole pandemic now actually shift the entire screening process. Now we have seen that, I mean, now people are more willing to try that. The candidates, who are working from home, applying from the home, they are willing to do that step. Because, for example, I mean, if you have a 2 year of experience, but you apply for the job which you feel like, hey, you were not qualified at, but at least companies giving you the chance. Show me the skill set. If you show me the skill set, I might change my, traditional way of saying that must have 5 year of experience, right? And with respect to that, I mean, Duck and all has been helping. I mean, we have like a video screening aspect, skill assessment aspect, where actually you can check somebody's hard skill. And also if somebody tried to cheat over the Google, we have our way to automated recruitment, automated proctoring as well. So as I said, I mean, what pandemic teaches, I mean, is, what we should make that whole recruiting experience the more like a data driven, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, for example, I mean, before COVID, you were actually inviting 10 candidates on interview side, right? What is the guarantee that, what, when actually candidate goes in interview room, you are not making your judgment based upon your intuition, right? There is no guarantee for that, right? But at least now such type of the platform that actually we are offering, there is a reasoning behind it why you are even inviting Vikram over an interview.
Mhm,
So
mhm. Okay,
that,
so if we have now the tools and the technology, what we should change from the HR side to really make useful this technology for the purpose? So, Simon, can you tell us what can we do better from the ATS perspective, that where the screening process start?
I think first of all, before you even look at your ATS, I think you need to look at the problems you're trying to solve. We see so many clients or so many prospective clients that, hey, we're looking to buy an ATS, and they've got a checklist of things that they want to tick off. And they're ticking things off for the sake of ticking things off. You don't want a checklist of things to tick off. You want a checklist of problems that you want to solve. And each company has different problems. So if you are moving from one ATS to another ATS and you say, hey, I want this because my last ATS had that, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. You need to say, I'm moving from one ATS to another because I've got this problem and I need to solve this problem. My previous ATS did not solve that problem. And all ATSs can do things slightly differently. So you need to look at each ATS on a problem solution type level. Most of them have AI tools in there now. Do you want an AI tool? Will that help you in your solution to that problem? What was your problem? A problem might be that you've got bias in your organization. Is this AI tool going to help with your bias, or is it going to actually make it worse? Is your organization doing volume recruiting? Are you doing bulk interviews? How are you going to know which out of the 1,000 applicants are the best 20? That's now a volume type solution where your screening tools, like Vikram was talking about, comes into play. Are you a type of organization that's hiring for skill shortage type roles, highly skilled roles? Then you need a solution that's got like an AI sourcing tool in it. Are you wanting to include the onboarding as part of that process? Then you need an ATS with onboarding as well. But the key thing, when I talk about problems, the key thing at the heart of it should be, with these tools, is how can these tools help me solve my problems and make my organization more efficient? That's, I think, a lot of recruitment teams, HR teams have got smaller over COVID to save money. Now we're needing to do more with less. And so technology can help with that. But look for technology that solves problems, doesn't check off your list.
That's excellent point. And in regards to that, I would like to give you a challenge. Okay, what do you think, if you can help us to share with us some of the common misconceptions that you face when you talk about technology? You mentioned, for example, Simon, AI, right? We talk a lot of AI. We talk a lot about machine learning. We talk a lot some technologies, but around are also biased. So could you share with us some of the most common?
Yeah, it's. Are you still asking me? I don't want to jump in front of someone else. I'm talking, so I'll carry on. So, have you seen the media coming out from Europe yesterday about this European Commission on AI rules? There's a common misconception that AI is biased. AI is biased if you make it biased, if your data set is biased, or if you do it wrong. You know, if you've got a big enough data set, you've got the right data set, you've got the right algorithms, and you check it, then it's going to be less biased than your team of recruiters. So, I mean, the biggest misconception, and Amazon didn't help, let's face it, with what they did. But that helped us all to learn about how not to do it. You don't try to use past measurements of success as future predictors of success, unless you know those past measurements were accurate, and you've done your testing and you're unbiased. So the biggest misconception, I think, around this whole technology, not just ATS, not just recruiting, technology in general, is AI and the bias. And you know, humans created this technology. The only way it's going to be biased is if we don't manage it properly or we don't build it properly. And what's coming out of this European Commission that I've just been reading last night is scary. They're talking about restricting businesses from developing AI tools in recruiting.
Okay, let's pause there. Let's pause there. That gives us a good things to continue talking. Thank you, Simon. Amit, what other misconception do you face?
Yeah. You know, I'll carry on Simon's thread there, right? I mean, I come from the HR world. I lived in HR. I breathe HR. I had teams in HR around the world. I think the biggest misconception with any technology, right, or any technological advancement is there's always this kind of fear of the unknown, right? Which is, hey, and look, I had great teams, amazing teams. Is my job going to go away, right? Or hey, is this really going to help me do my job? Because we've been burnt before with technology, right? And these are all, valid questions that teams have, right? And humans have. It's normal human behavior, right? And so, the way I've always tried to explain to the teams to adopt new technologies and new innovative tools is it's actually going to help you do more value-added work, right? And when you think about any revolution, right? Industrial revolution, the fourth revolution, right? That is happening now. Every revolution has really helped us do more value-added, more meaningful work and more rewarding work, right? And that's the way, the misconception out there is typically like, hey, this AI tool is gonna, come help me source. Yes, but it's not like we're gonna get away from, the headcount that is doing the sourcing today. I want to use that sourcer to do more selection, right? Maybe move up the value chain to actually do more HR business partner kind of work to really understand what's going on in the organization, right? So that's my perspective from an HR point of view.
Great, thank you. Bikram, what are your thoughts? What's the misconception that you face?
Sure. I'm gonna try to summarize it in a very short and precise. My background is not come from directly from HR background. I mean, my background comes from like a management consultant, IT consultant. So I wear the hat of a candidate as well, right? But if you ask me, I mean, biggest misconception about an HR perspective, I think the mindset needs to be changed. When I say the mindset, then that's mean the recruiter mindset needs to be changed. Like, for example, I mean, if we are using some sort of technology, recruiter mindset is, oh, they're going to take away my job, right? No, it's not going to take away the job. It's going to help you, to do your job effectively. That doesn't mean that you are not doing your job properly, right? So then that's mean there is education involved, right? All these technology companies, they probably not doing the job that they're supposed to do to educate the client, which is like a recruiter, right?
Right.
Then irrespective of that, whether you are using AI or whether you are not using AI, right? But if you actually educate them, you change your mindset. So now they are fearless. So then they know that, okay, you know what? If we are using AI over here, it makes a lot more sense, right? It doesn't make a lot more sense if you're using AI somewhere else, right? And also as a candidate standpoint of view, if the recruiter is not very well educated about the AI, how we can have the same expectation from the candidate who is looking for a job? Because the candidate mindset is, when I was applying for a job, my mindset was, oh, you know what? They are asking me this question. Do you need a visa? Oh, they're going to rule me out. And that exactly happened, right? So what is that? Then that's mean the education and mindset needs to be changed, right? So in my eyes, I mean, even though when actually you ask such type of a question and then ATS rule you out, even though it's not AI, but still, I mean, it is actually, it is actually a prospective candidate or whoever actually might the candidate has a skill set, but he or she is not able to reach the finishing line because technology is ruling him out.
Mm-hmm. Great point. So what would you say should be a new belief or mindset on the recruiting side?
I think the new mindset should be, I mean, you should be, the new mindset should be like, obviously, I mean, the fearless, I mean, the technology is not going to take your job away. And also, I mean, stop relying on the resume, stop relying on all those rational number experiences, go for the skill set, right? Mm-hmm. If the candidate has skill set, like, for example, as Simon mentioned, I mean, yeah, obviously you need a sourcing tool. Now you have your talent source, like you have like maybe like a 200 candidate in that pipeline. Now, next step is now try to find out who has that skill set that you're looking for. Rather just looking for those numbers, who has a 5-year experience, who has a degree from the Ivy League school, who has no degree from the non-Ivy League school. We gotta need to change that mindset, right? I personally have the experience. I mean, when actually, we work with the people coming from the non-IT background. I mean, they do a job. They do a job. I mean, with sometimes, the person from the IT background doesn't do that. So if I go with my traditional way, I would never able to hire those people in my company, right? Excellent. So rather me actually preaching people a change needs to start from me first.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So good task for the HR recruiters teams. So upskill, right? Reskill and reframe the mindset. So let me ask you something. What comes to mind when you hear that the recruiting process is broken? Simon, what would you say? I mean,
sorry, Simon.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it boils down to faster, better, cheaper, right? When you have a management mindset, a line management, or if you're heading a talent function, it's all about, are you doing it faster, better, cheaper, right? And those are the three kind of stools. And when you hear that recruiting is broken, you're either not doing it fast enough, your quality or perceived quality of service or quality of candidate is not good enough, or you're too costly, right? And so when I think, again, I'm putting my talent hat on. When I hear, oh, recruiting is broken, it's basically a perception or a reality. And in many cases, reality or perception is reality. It's one of those three things. It's either you're not doing it fast enough, you're not maybe driving quality, or things that you're doing in your process that's not driving quality, or you're just simply too costly.
Great points. Simons, what would you say about it?
When I hear that, I get really, really happy because if we go back to my original point, it's about solving problems. If someone comes to me and says, hey, my recruitment process is broken, first of all, I'm like, yay, you're looking at your recruitment process and you're trying to work out, do we have a problem? And thirdly, you've identified there is a problem. So you're halfway there to solving the problem. That's awesome if someone says that. No one is perfect at recruiting. No one. There's always improvements that can be made. And you should be continuously looking at that process. If it's broken, okay, there might be more parts that are broken, but hey, that's more opportunities to fix them with cool new technology that's out there. So yeah, I hear that. I'm happy because people are open to change when they know they've identified a problem.
That's encouraging. So can you tell me 2 practices in the recruiting process that should be eliminated?
Oh,
you can tell us. We are not going to feel offended in this chat, right? I want to read in the chat also as well, but we promised for all the HR community that we are not going to feel bad. So
yeah, I'll let Simon and Vikram go first, since I've been the first one going lately. So
there you go, Vikram.
Okay, so mindset needs to be changed, eliminated. Don't think too much, right? Because you are a human, you are hiring a human, right? Make an intimate connection over there. Right now in our recruitment, that is lost somewhere, right? So that needs to be eliminated. Another is adoption, right? You know what? Adopt the technology that can actually. I think sorry. I mean, another thing that needs to be right. Another is, adopt. I mean, like I know a lot of our clients. I mean, they are using like a 5 or 10 or different type of like the tools. Do you really need it? I mean, you're making your process actually, sometimes they say like over process, when actually you do stuff over process is going to kill the process, right? So I think make it simple, right? Don't make it complex, right? So complexity needs to be ruled out of the whole recruiting equation, right? Again, I mean, that's just my 2 cents on this one.
Awesome. What else? Amit, what else come to your mind?
Yeah, look, I mean, the recruiting process, it is very complicated process, as Vikram said, right? And there's reasons for that. There's a lot of legacy, depending on the age of your company and so on, right? And the culture. If there were 2 things that I would eliminate from the process to make it faster, better, cheaper, right?
We love that.
Right. The first one really would be just really get very quickly aligned on what is the requirement of the job. Okay. So I think Vikram, you mentioned that, right? Like look for potential, not pedigree, right? So that's number one. The other thing I would probably remove from the recruiting process is the number of interviews it takes, right, to make a decision, right? And every company has this. A lot of companies have this challenge, right? You have, and it depends on the type of job, of course, but when you normally hear like for an hourly job, there's like 5 sets of interviews, right? It doesn't help anybody, right? You're not faster, better, cheaper anywhere, right? And you're hurting the entire experience, right? Mm-hmm. And so those are the 2 kind of main things I would change.
Awesome. Simon,
it's a really dangerous. It's a dangerous question because, like I said before, everyone does things differently, and they've got their different reasons for doing things differently. But if I was to pick on a couple that I think generally could be done better, one is don't make applicants fill out so much information at the start of the process. A lot of organizations ask too many questions up front, make that process too hard for the applicant to apply. If you're wanting to find out more about these people, when you're asking questions up front to every single one of them, you're going to turn them off and they're not going to complete your application form. And usually it's the best applicants that say that, because the best applicants typically have already got a job.
Yes.
And they're secure. If you go and make them jump through the hoops to fill out all this information up front when they're not even being interviewed yet, they're going to just close down that window and leave. So, from we have some clients that do it completely opposite to that. I mean, they make it hard, but they make it hard for a reason, and they have a problem, and part of that hard application form is solving that problem. It's not always 100% correct, but generally, that's what I think would be really, really helpful for the recruitment process. What Amit said about interviews, yeah. Why do you need 5 interviews? I can't believe it. Get the right people in the room. Get your hiring manager there in the room. Get what information you need at the time.
Yeah, and to that point, Simon, sorry to interrupt.
No.
To the interviewing, we actually did a study, and we saw that the outcome of the decision actually didn't change if you had 0 interviews versus 5 interviews, right? So, and that goes back to Simon's point around, I believe, and I truly believe, humans are just as biased as any technology that's out there. Right.
Yeah.
So does it sound like from the beginning they already have an inclination to make a decision? Could be.
Yeah, I mean, humans are constantly, making decisions. We're making millions of decisions in a day, right? And so we have inherent biases, right? That there's of course training to correct that and so on, right? But generally speaking, yes, there's always this question in my mind, and maybe there's a study out there. Like, I would love to see if humans are more biased than any AI or any sourcing tool, a technology tool that's out there versus not, right? Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. So let me ask you something. What do you think about how do you connect these biases and these possibilities with this demand to really work in diversity, equity, and inclusion? What are your thoughts there? How can really work around and make a better culture on that?
Yeah, I mean, as it relates to recruiting, and that's actually one of the main things that we're solving, right, with our business and our solution, is how do you simplify the job to 3 to 6 key skills? And we actually force that before a job is even posted, to frankly and provide imagery associated with that job to really open up and attract the right talent pools, right? Mm-hmm. Diverse talent pools. So, for example, if a job is titled and the location is remote, we actually will put up pictures of somebody potentially in a wheelchair, right? For that job. So now you're moving away from a text heavy job spec that has 50 million requirements that nobody is even probably qualified for, right? And you're boiling it down to 3 to 6 things that you're now opening up the talent pool in a visual way for that job, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Excellent. Simon, what would you say about it?
Well, one of the cool things about technology now is that it actually can identify diverse talent, and this can be used in a positive or a negative way. Obviously, we need to be using this in a positive way. So our AI sourcing tool that we're just releasing, you can say, hey, I want to just look at diverse talent, because the algorithms, machines, they can work out within an 80% kind of ratio or percentage how likely it is to be diverse talent. So these machines can go out and look in places where diverse talent are. There's specific job boards, there's specific talent pools, there's communities. These machines of ours, obviously I love these machines because I think they're so powerful. There's more and more data sets getting released every single day that are available to the public that can help us to be able to find diverse talent and then get them into our talent pools, get them into our pipeline, start communicating with them, start looking at their skills and how can we get them into our organizations.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Simon, can you give us also in alignment with a question in our chat from PJ, can you give us a simple example of how can AI can help on this process and can help the candidates on this, create these diverse pools?
How can it help the candidates?
Yes.
Well, for a start, AI, when you program AI, you program it to look for skills. So you don't program it to look for a white person. You've got a job, you've got these needs. The first thing that the AI does is it goes out sourcing the world, wherever you tell it to go looking for the right skills. So straight away, it's not biased. It's looking for the best fit for the job. So what happens from there is up to you, up to your organization. If you start introducing bias into your process from there, then you need to look at what you're doing and redefine your processes. But the start, like the machines do not introduce bias unless you tell the machines to introduce bias. So straight away, it doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair. The machine's saying, okay, does this person match the job criteria? And that's helping everyone. And that's, in my opinion, that's what it should be. It's like, let's find the best person for the job, no matter who, no matter where.
The focus on skills. Excellent. And I saw Bikram and Amit they want to say something. Okay, so Bikram, what would you want to say?
So, I mean, since your question was, I mean, how we can actually track the diversity, right? So then I think, again, I mean, this is something we try to solve, but I mean, we need to understand for the root cause problem, why there is no diversity, first of all. You know, because every organization is different. Why there is no diversity? There could be a couple of reasons. Maybe the regional problem. I mean, where the organization is located, I mean, there is no diversity in that particular region. Then that's mean they gotta need to think out of the box and actually take the help of a lot of different sourcing engine, as you know, the Simon mentioned, that goes and outreach to a different community. Then if that goes there, then that's mean now you start talking about like going outside the city limit. Then is the organization is open to offer them a relocation, right? Now, the second one is if your organization is already in the diverse area or diversity pool and still they don't have a diversity, then that's mean they are ignoring the merit when it comes to like hiring. Then that's mean then there is a merit problem, right? Even though the candidate from the diverse background, they are applying, but they are not getting the job, maybe because their recruitment has no data driven. Right, the recruitment is all recruitment decision actually happens in the closed doors. In the closed door, we all know what happened, right? You know, but right. So then my take is, I mean, the organization needs to think. Where I mean, it's easy to say because I know it's very popular these days. Hey, you know what? We should bring the diversity. Yes, I mean, but that's the second question. The first question is why you don't have a diversity, first of all, right? Then we will solve that problem. Then use the right technology, as you know, then there are so many good tools out there for the sourcing, right? And then again, then you should have like a policies in the place. Okay, you know what, since in this particular town we don't have a diverse population, you know, if you want to attract the talent outside this town, the diverse talent, what are we going to offer them, right? Or so again, I mean, and if somebody is already in a metropolitan and they have a lot of diversity, then that's mean if there is no diversity, they need to make their recruiting process data driven.
Data driven. I like that. So, Amit, what do you say? What can we do better to build this culture process in a better way?
From a diversity perspective?
From a diversity perspective, yes.
Yeah, you know, look, first of all, you know, I think there needs to be alignment on how your organization even defines, or how people generally define diversity, right? So that's number one, right? There's so many different layers. I know, Yvonne, you and I spoke the other day, right? There's so many different layers to diversity. Fortunately or unfortunately, you know, things get measured just because, you know, these are visible aspects of diversity, right? But you really have to start thinking about, to Simon's point, you know, really boil it down to what are the skills that you are after, right? And then, you know, there's all kinds of supply data that's available out there, right? Publicly available data, or you can even buy some data, right? And say, okay, if I'm looking for these skill sets, in a certain, you know, radius of that zip code, is that skill set even available from a diversity perspective, right? The measurable diversity elements I'm talking about, right?
Right.
And so for me, from a cultural standpoint, you know, it's of course, you know, being data driven, but then internally there are processes that you can drive. You know, there are all kinds of, you know, techniques around. Do you remove names from resumes, right?
Right.
Do you remove pictures from any LinkedIn profiles that you're sharing with your manager, right? There is, you know, do you remove the year people graduated, because that gets to the age piece, right? So there's a lot of different dimensions to how you are driving decisions in a more unbiased way, right? And it happens at every segment of the process, right? Like you have to really almost dissect your entire recruiting process and really identify the failure points, if you will, right? Or where you have the biggest failure in terms of biases, right? And then basically say, all right, how do I eliminate or reduce that piece of the process that might actually have biases built into unconscious biases is what I call them, right? Because nobody's intentionally doing this, right?
Right.
These are all unconscious biases that you have, that you generally are inherently putting into the process, right? Technology or not technology, it's just purely around the processes. And how do you change that? You really have to change it just through looking at where you might have failure points and just minimizing those.
Great. So what do you see as success factors in companies that embrace technology in recruiting?
I would, if I may just carry on that, right? Success factors for embracing. I think the user experience, you know, I've been a recruiter for years. You have so many complex processes that are built over the years. You know, every step. I mean, it's not easy to be a recruiter today, right? It's just not, right? And so how easy do you make your product that actually works and it gets recruiters keep coming back to that product from a user experience or from a UI and UX perspective is absolutely critical. So for me, in a most simplistic fashion, it's got to help the recruiter do it faster, better, cheaper, okay? And the UX and UI has to be so good that the recruiter just wants to be in your platform and no other system out there.
So are you saying that we shouldn't forget that the user employee experience also is part of the HR team's experience?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, spot on, Yvonne, right? It's what is the experience not only of the recruiter in the process, but the hiring manager, the candidate, right? And there, you know, you just have to take all of that into account because, you know, you've got an HR system. Chances are you also have an applicant tracking system. If you're not combined, and then you have other screening tools on top of that, then, you know, there's a lot of complexities if you're a typical recruiter in an enterprise today, right?
Excellent. What else you would say, Vikram, to that? What other success factors do you see?
Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be easy answer, as Amit said. I mean, it's a complex process, right? So success factor, I mean, if you start, I mean, basically in the recruitment process, in my opinion, I mean, there are two major actors. One is like a candidate and one is a hiring manager, right? And obviously, you know, there is another supporting actor, which is like a recruiter, right? So obviously user experience needs to be, you know, like one like that's very simple so that everybody can enjoy it. But success factor actually start from like a right from the beginning of the process, as Simon actually mentioned. If your application is too long, right, you know, the companies are forcing you to making an account. Why I should make an account over there, right? You know what, you're not gonna send me like a job opening, right? Or even if I'm not getting an interview, why you are like unnecessary information. So if you really want to be successful, your application process needs to be very, very simple, right? You know, maybe like you're asking 3 or 4 things, that's it. Because the candidate who is applying for the job, they even don't know whether they're going to get an interview or not. And then again, I mean, that it needs to go to the recruiter. If the recruiter now again, Amit said, I mean, once actually it goes to the recruiter, now maybe if the recruiter is using any screening platform, right? Then screening platform needs to be very simple. So I saw somebody actually said in a chat, I mean, for example, if I want to hire a cashier, if I want to hire, somebody, I mean, working in a retail. I mean, what do you expect from their resume? Most of the time, I mean, if somebody's, I mean, having associate degree or high school dropout, I mean, their resume might be empty resume, right? What you're looking in the resume, and you are making them to again sign up to making the process a lot more complex, right? Again, I mean, but ultimately it boils down to their skill. I mean, what skill set that you're looking for, right? So I would say success factor, I mean, easy way to say is keep your process as simple as possible. Do not over process, because over process is just going to kill it, right? You're not going to be able to find the right candidate. And especially, I mean, the candidate who are already on the job, they're not going to come on your website and apply for the job.
Excellent. Simon, what would you say to that?
If I was to boil it down just to very basic, easy concepts, for me, the success factors is, can you find the best applicant for that job as fast as possible? And that introduces a lot of things underneath that, though. Like Vikram was just talking about, those processes that go there. But what is the best applicant? So you need to then know, okay, why are they a good applicant? You hired them. How are they working out after 90 days, after 180 days? How long do they stay with your organization for? Like, the best hire is someone who stays for your organization for a long time, a long period of time, so you don't need to replace them, and they're adding value to your organization. So if you can find that ideal candidate as fast as possible, and they are happy, they stay long, and they contribute to your organization, then that's awesome. For me, digging a bit further, if you can get that best applicant from within your own talent pool, because you've got the processes and technology to be able to develop that yourself, then that's going to help you to be able to get them faster, be able to identify their skills a lot easier, not put them through the ringer when they're trying to apply for a job. So having your own talent pool with the tools to use that talent pool will help you to get that end goal of the best applicant as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. So how can leverage then what you mentioned, and Amit mentioned previously as well, branding? So how social media are also helping to leverage these features?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure some of these other guys have got some really good concepts on this, but Amit, sorry,
Amit,
I'm talking.
Go on. Go ahead.
I do like this conversation too, because to get the applicants, you need to have your employment branding spot on. If you're talking about about diversity, and you've got a diversity policy, big deal. A policy is nothing unless you're actually doing what you say you're doing. And how can a candidate know that you're doing what is in your policy? They're going to come and research you. They're going to look on social media. They're going to look at your organization and make sure, or see if they can find out proof that you are implementing these policies. I saw quite a cool thing the other day where people are developing career sites, AI career sites, which specifically will look at what you're interested in, where you've come from, what pages you're looking at, what jobs you're looking at on their site, and deliver you person-specific content for what you're interested in. And so if you've got a career site that can answer all the questions that the candidate wants to know about without them having to put in all the hard work to dig it out, that's awesome. But employment branding, it's a massive, huge topic. So many points to it.
Okay, let's pause it there. And thank you, Simon. Amit, what did you say about what Simon elaborated?
Yvonne, I just wanted to also mention that there are a few questions, very good ones in the chat. Maybe we can address those for the people as well.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we are going to almost finish the questions to give a space for, of course, the audience to respond to the questions. Yeah. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy.
This is like the presidential debate where you can close turn my microphone off, Yvonne.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want that you hate me, Simon.
When I talk too much.
You know, someone gave me the tricky mission to ask you questions, read the chat, involve the audience and everything. So, no, but we are good.
No worries. So yeah, I mean, and we'll get to the questions for sure. I've been seeing them as well. There's some really good
Yes.
questions there.
Really
but yeah,
good questions.
just really quickly, and we can move on to the questions. Branding is it's a very important area that, the budgets keep increasing actually in branding, because it's an area that, frankly, is a capability that continues to build within the HR function, right? Branding, as Simon mentioned, just it's very broad, highly complex around how you think about your value proposition. Is it real, right? You don't want to sell roses and you really come into thorns, right?
Right.
And so it's really about, and by the way, there's stats out there, 94% of recruiters out there use social media for recruiting purposes. And social media is a huge stepping stone in terms of just amplifying your brand right out there. The way we kind of view employer branding, or I have viewed and I continue to view, is how do you kind of really make it scalable across your employee base, right? So how do you really easily get your employees to also kind of be your fans, right? And that really is how and where the intersection is with recruiting and sourcing is, once you build your brand that your employees actually are, authentically talking about, that, we all know referrals are like the #1 source of hire, right? In terms of faster, better, cheaper, right?
Yes.
Right. And to me, branding and social media are a perfect combination of how you really get at the referral aspect of jobs. And that is the #1 source of hire as it relates to all three counts, right? It is the fastest way to recruit. It is the highest quality way to recruit, as well as it is actually the cheapest way to recruit as well. And so if you do employer branding right, combined with social media, and you scale your employees to go behind that, it's extremely powerful.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's read some questions and help us answer this question. So Jorge has a good question about how to leverage technology to source for roles like cashiers, tellers, store clerks, gardeners, when the candidates are not technology savvy. Vikram, what would you say after that?
See, I mean, the sourcing the candidate when the candidates are no technology savvy. I mean, I can only share my experiences over here with other clients that we have. I mean, so like we have a client. I mean, they were looking for like a driver. So the drivers. I mean, they were no technology savvy and all those, right? So same question. I mean, same concern that they were having, but how actually we optimize or how we actually change their processes. I mean, obviously the application process needs to be very simple. But here's another thing. I mean, you guys were talking about the branding. So then the branding part come into the play over there, right? Because the way they brand the job, not the organization. When actually you brand the particular job, and then they start using the video job description, Tuck and all introduce it. So now you are branding the particular job. You are not branding the company's, like a company brand. The brand is already there. The brand is already multi-million-dollar brand, right? So you are branding the job. Hey, this is me as a Vikram, as a recruiter for this particular job. This job will help you in this way. So they brand the job by themselves, the normal recruiter, with their own video. The driver saw the video while they're actually driving on Arizona. So when actually the driver come into the network, driver fill the application, just a 3 simple: first name, last name, phone number, resume, if they have a resume. Boom. Once they get it, and now it's a simple process. I mean, they didn't need to do anything. And then after that, I mean, they ask them a video question. Okay, what, do you have a driving license? The driver literally show them, this is my driving license, and I have a CDL driver license. So they ask only 2 or 3 questions. So the long story short, I mean, the average time that actually that particular, so by the way, I mean, the organization that I'm talking over here, this is like a second largest company in the United States when it comes to logistics, right? So average time that it took, I mean, to hire a driver, they was using like almost like like a 30 to 45 days, from the start to finish. With this whole technology that they use, they were able to close the same job in a 15 days. But what differently they did, they just changed the thought process, because even like a candidate want to see you, who is Yvonne behind the scene, because if Yvonne is a recruiter, right? So what actually we came to know that, I mean, when actually we asked those candidates in a focus group, what made you to apply for this job? Intimate connection right over there, the recruiter and candidate, right? So then you don't need, I mean, so you are yourself as a brand. If I'm a recruiter, I'm a brand, right? So people, so as a human, I mean, we want to see other human, what he's saying about the job, rather me seeing the actors, right? So they literally, I mean, they put their hiring manager on the back of them. I mean, they have their own trucks, right? So they're literally showing them that, like this is going to be your workplace. So imagine that the experience that candidate is having, right?
Right.
So but they remove all those, like extra step for the candidate, filling of like 10 different forms. No, just the 3 main points, like first name, last name, phone number. That's it. And then rest of the process, they make it more simple. You have a serial driving license. Literally, people were showing over the video, and they got hired.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So let me read another question from Jim Matson. Let's say.
I just want to add one thing.
Yes, yes, Andy.
For Jorge, I would challenge the idea of not technology savvy and the definition of that. 80% of low income all use smartphones, and you know what? All of them are on Facebook, TikTok. So when you say not technology savvy, what you're actually saying is not difficult technology savvy. So if you use simple technology savvy, you'll be fine.
Yes. Thanks,
Great
Andy.
point. Great point, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great point.
That's very insightful. Thank you.
I was thinking the same thing, Andy, because 10 years ago, we used to get clients come to us and say, hey, we have a certain percentage of people that can't fill out an online application form. Now, we've just worked with a client that's recruited 6,000 kiwi fruit pickers in 1 month. And the requirement was, have they got 2 hands or can they pick kiwi fruit? In other words, they don't care. There's not really a skill. Are they capable physically of picking kiwi fruit? And they were worried about not being able to get the applicants through the system. And we did, what Vikram was talking about. We just made it a very, very simple application process. And I think out of the 6,000, there were about 15 people that they had to do it for them. So it's times have changed, and people have got smartphones, and it's getting easier to use technology as long as the technology is easy.
Yeah, and
great points.
Spot on. And to Andy's point, right? Everybody uses social media these days, right? On their phones, right? So if you can, and that's what we deliver. Just a little simple ad for Clickify here. Right? We actually deliver. We deliver Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and soon we're adding Instagram ads that are branded straight to the phones, right? For folks like bus drivers and so on, right? So that's what we're doing for our clients today. We actually have. I'm glad, Vikram, you used the bus driver example, because it's a very short supply in the U.S. at least, and a lot of companies are struggling with that. So our client uses Clickify, puts the ads on Facebook, which is where this talent pool resides day in, day out, and they're able to drive their recruiting that way.
Awesome. Simon, what is another successful story, because we are close to the wrapping up this panel?
Another success story? Oh, one of my favorites is one of our largest clients. They're in the healthcare sector. They employ home care workers, registered nurses, a big range of different staff. They came to us a while ago, and they had tried to build their own applicant management system. And the guy that had built it had left and no one knew how to work it and it was crashing. So they came to us and said, these are our problems. Can you solve it? And within 10 weeks, we'd built a recruitment process using our technology and the way that we're able to mold and configure our system to suit different processes within 10 weeks. And now they recruit at 150 roles per month with 2 recruiters. So, being able to look for, hire 150 people per month with 2 recruiters, I think it's awesome.
Awesome. That's a good story. So before to pass to the questions, I would like that you share briefly what is your approach to solve these complexities in the talent acquisition space, and how your tool, your companies can help the recruiters and the HR teams to make the job easier and better. Vikram.
See, sorry, I mean, I didn't get like the first half of the question. Would you mind to say one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say, just to wrap up, is how your approach to the talent acquisition space and your tool and company can help the recruiters to make their job better and easier?
See, well, I mean, how the duck and all is being designed, I mean, duck and all cannot actually work without recruiter. So we need a recruiter. First of all, we just want to make sure that, our tool is not over here to take your job away, right? And how we can actually make the process better, or how tool is helping it to making the whole concept of, we try to mitigate as much as a biasness from the process, because everything is documented, right? If you're asking 4 questions and 4 questions to everyone, if you have an audit tomorrow, you can show all those answers to everyone, right? And also on the top of that, we have a skill assessment as well, right? So you have like a percentage score as well, right? Mm-hmm. So then that's mean we are helping not only the organization, also we are helping the best talent to come to the surface, because the whole thing is actually data driven and a merit base. And also at the same time, I mean, we are helping the recruiter. We want recruiter to be more creative, right? So we want a recruiter to come out of the social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Indeed, and actually tell your story with your job description, right? Mm-hmm. Because let's be very realistic, as actually Simon said, I think Simon or Amit, I forget the name, right? So somebody said that, I mean, the job description, those job descriptions are so old. My grandfather used to read those jobs. We are in 2021 right now. So we need more innovation over here, right? So tool is helping to make an intimate connection with the candidate and the recruiter right over there. And then after that, the screening. So that's how I think our platform is trying to help the organization to find the best talent at faster rate and at affordable price.
Awesome. Amit, tell us about Clickify.
Yeah, Clickify is actually based on the premise that job descriptions are old school. To Vikram's point, there's a better way to attract the right kind of talent, right, in a visual way, right? We help recruiters become brand influencers across social, right? Mm-hmm. To be able to build that brand and frankly start to attract the various talent pools that is attracted to you as well. So there's a whole passive and diverse kind of aspect to what we drive. Ultimately, it's all about organic networks that we truly believe are the differentiator in the hiring process.
Awesome. Thank you. Simon, what about QJumpers?
I'll tell you a secret. The part I hate about my job the most is recruiting. And, and that is why we built QJumpers. It's to make it easy. That if you can get rid of the administration tasks, the tasks that take up a lot of time that don't actually bring value, if you can automate those as much as possible so that you can focus on interviewing the person or making sure you've got the right fit, then that is a good result. And that's what QJumpers does. So our goal is to take away all the pain of trying to find that best person. Our goal is we will show you who the best person is. You just get in there and interview them, hire them as fast as possible. And so we do it, we've got AI sourcing tools, we've got automation tools. It's really good for skill shortage type roles, but it's also been built because of where we are. When we first built Q Jumpers for New Zealand, this now is playing out really, really well for the US market space, and that remote hiring is what Q Jumpers was built for a long time ago. So our system is built for the remote hiring process that's going on right now, in collaboration too.
Awesome, awesome. Sounds powerful. So thank you. And let's check now. I hope we have other questions. So for all the attendees, if you have any questions, let us know. You can raise your hand or put it in the chat if you have any other questions. I don't know.
I have a quick question.
Sure, Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, just real, I know we're getting a little bit past the hour here, but thanks everybody for all great insights. And I'm curious, we're talking a lot about the recruiting side of it and finding candidates for organizations. But what I find with a lot of clients I work with is they honestly don't really know what they need. And I know you've indicated some of those types of things, but do you have tools or ways that you support organization in diagnosing what they actually have to have, what they need? And two, what you find a lot in organizations that are growing is they don't know how to delegate down the right things to the next job. So there's like a lot of things happening in, it almost like sometimes it's a deeper assessment. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that as far as assessing an organization, particularly one that's really trying to grow and add the right, skills to their organization.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to answer that? Simon?
Yeah. No, I love this. It's one of my favorite parts of the job, and I still like to get involved in when our sales VP lets me. But we like to go in and talk to potential clients face to face to understand their current processes, their current pain points, and give them the benefit of our knowledge of working with thousands of organizations and knowing what all the different types of organizations have done to solve the problems and what works well and what doesn't. And what we like to do is go in there, and if they're open to it, and they're not always open to it, but if they are, recommend processes that will help them to solve their problems. So that's, the consulting part of it is key, because if you implement a system that doesn't solve their problems, they're not going to stay with you, and you've wasted your time getting them up and going, and you've wasted their time as well.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Kathy, for the answer, question. Anyone else? Any other questions? Now is the time. We have a couple of minutes. In the meantime, Simon, Vikram, Amit, thank you so much for accepting the invitation for this discussion. What can I say? For me, it's a pleasure to interact with you. For all the HR people, I really think that it's we feel with a lot of hope, right, for the future, because we are literally having possibilities and tools, and now is the perfect time to put it in place. So thank you for that. So questions, now is the time. So more questions, Simon, Vikram, anything to add? Amit, anything to add?
Yeah, I just, first of all, I want to thank you, Yvonne, and Kathy as well for leading the session, and the panelists. I hope we can connect afterwards as well, and of course the participants. Just the question that Kathy had, one of the things that we always used to struggle with is the changing nature of technical skill, right, and how fast they evolve. And what would happen is even some of the hiring managers would be like, hey, I've been asked to hire a software engineer with like Kubernetes skills, right? right? And so one of the things we have instituted in our product is based on the title, we do actually go out to various data sources and actually recommend key skills that are trending for that particular title, right? So just keeping it a little easier and more consistent as it relates to a smarter way to think about what you actually need in the job. Right?
Awesome.
Just wanted to add that to Kathy's question.
Awesome. So if it's not any other comments, I think we can do a high 10 over there because we did it. And if are not more questions, 5, 19, 20, we can close this session. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all our attendees, and hope you can join us again in another event or another session.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Thank you. Simon,
Very good.
Vikram, and